When I first got this Gen 5 G19 from Brownells months ago, I noted a few aspects of its design that I thought Glock should have done differently in creating a new generation of their iconic pistol. That did not mean that I hated it. In fact, 4 out of the 5 things I pointed out are design aspects of every Glock I've ever purchased. The factory sights are plastic. It still has the Glock hump with no option for a flat backstrap. The slide stop is still small. And though I don't use front serrations myself, they're pretty much standard on every competing pistol out there. If you wanted them, you have to send your slide off to get machined and then refinished. But that's not to say that this is garbage. I just think Glock could have gone farther in creating this generational change. They got a lot right, in fact. Glock did indeed improve the factory plastic sights. I have no idea if they're more durable like some have claimed, but you no longer have to cut the bottom of the ball off with the notch in the rear sight in order to get proper sight silhouette. Glock owners all know what I'm talking about. The original Glock sight picture never made any sense to me because if you focused on the ball on the front sight, you'd hit high because you'd naturally want to see the whole thing cradled in the cup on the rear sight. The Gen 5 sight picture is now exactly what you would think it would be. You just cradle that big dot in the square of the rear sight and the sights are going to be properly aligned. Regardless, I'm going to be replacing these with the new F8 sights from XS Sights. They give the advantage of the big front dot on the big dot sights that made them famous, but with a standard sight silhouette like I prefer. You can actually see my front sight is already chewed up a little bit from going in and out of the holster, and that's going to solve that problem. The grip is a huge improvement for me. The difference is more than just a lack of finger grooves. The Gen 5 grip without back straps is actually smaller than the Gen 4 grip without back straps. And that means I can rub my stubby little fingers farther around the pistol. The RTF-like texture is uninterrupted along the entire front strap, and I think that gives me a much better grip over the pistol than the finger grooves on the Gen 3 or Gen 4 Glocks ever did. In fact, I used to think that I really liked the finger grooves on my Gen 4 G19, and now I do not like them at all. This feels just so much better in my hand. It fits my hand better, and I feel like I have a better grip on it than I ever did with my Gen 4. The trigger seems to have some people saying they love it and others saying, meh. I definitely feel it's an improvement over the triggers on my other Glocks. I think where the difference comes from is in a firmer feel to the take-up with a cleaner break that makes the whole trigger pull seem smoother. I'm guessing the striker preload effort is just spread out more evenly over the travel and the trigger, but I don't really know. I don't know if it'll make me a better shooter either, but I'm definitely liking it. The diamond-like carbon is a metal treatment I've been a big fan of in other applications, and it seems to be doing its job on a Gen 5 slide and barrel. That's no surprise at all. It's the new wonderkind of gun finishes for a reason. It's slicker than Glock's original Tenefer finish everyone loves so much, and it's harder too. Speaking of the Gen 5 finish, I am slightly surprised by the holster wear I'm already seeing on the slide stop. I don't really care about it aesthetically, but it does make me question what's different about this slide stop's finish versus that on every other Glock I've carried over the years. It will probably have no practical impact, so I'm not worried about it, but I'm not the only one that's noticed this. This is an early production Gen 5 with a slight frame underbite. That never bothered me as it's far from the only pistol with a mismatch between frame and slide. However, it's usually the slide overhanging the frame and not the other way around, and for some reason, I guess people find that more acceptable, even though from a practical standpoint, it's the exact same thing. Glock listened to complaints about this underbite nonetheless and did update that radius to where on new Gen 5s, the frame and slide blend together much more closely. I remain disappointed with the placement of the Magwell Cutout, which is the 5th and biggest issue I've had with the pistol ever since I got it. Yes, I know why it's there. The FBI requested it on their guns. That led to the Gen 5 to make stripping a stuck mag easier, but it defeats the purpose of the flared magwell that the FBI also specified that also made it into the design of the Gen 5 G19. A double stack magazine is already tapered so that it easily inserts into the squarest of holes from the sides. Where it could use some help is on the front and the rear. On the Gen 5, both the front and the rear of the magwell have half circle cutouts that are known to snag magazines on insertion. this really makes no sense to me at all, regardless if it's a problem that only occasionally presents itself. Instead, it would have made a whole lot more sense to put the cutouts on the sides where you'll find them on many other battle-proven pistols, while beveling the front and rear of the magwell to catch a poorly inserted mag and funnel it into place. The taper on the mag would take care of the sides where the cutouts should be. I already know the comments I'm going to get from this part of the video. Insert the mag the right way and you won't have a problem. Get better training. Practice more. As a guy who knows firsthand how quickly fine motor skills go when you honest to God think you are about to get shot, I simply do not accept the idea that training can make up for a bad design choice. The whole point of a flared magwell is so that you don't need perfect technique to drive a magazine home into the gun when you need it. No Glock magwell should result in a discussion where someone's telling a shooter that his or her technique needs to be better just to use it. Of course, this creates another opportunity for the aftermarket to step in where Glock failed and create a true fully beveled magwell. We have yet to see what that's going to be, and of course, how that might end up impacting your ability to strip out a stuck mag. If Glock would have just stuck with the Gen 4 magwell design, I'd be head over heels in love with the Gen 5. However, my decision to carry the Gen 5 to defend myself definitely got hung up, no pun intended, on its magwell. In the end, I decided that the better purchase I get on the Gen 5, from the moment I draw from my holster through that last round I send from the first magazine, outweighs any concern I have that I might bobble a reload. The chances that any of us, law enforcement viewers included, will ever end up in a scenario where we would empty an entire magazine and still need to reload under direct threat of fire is really small. It's not zero. I'm not saying it's not important to train for that kind of scenario, but I've decided I'm not going to let a really small probability of being in such a scenario combined with the real small possibility I might bobble the reload under that scenario because of the shape of this magwell dictate my decision to elevate this Gen 5 G19 to my ADC gun. It simply fits my hand a whole lot better than any other generation of Glock, and I shoot it better than my Gen 4 G19. That's just my personal experience with the Gen 5 G19. Your experience may vary. In fact, I'd love to hear from other Gen 5 owners who have shot enough to form an opinion. What do you think about the design choices Glock made in developing the Gen 5? Be sure to sign up for my mailing list at twangnbang.net/sign up. It's the only surefire way to stay in touch with me no matter what happens to gun channels on social media. I really appreciate you watching Twang and Bang, and I hope to see you next time.